Every year, humans catch over 90 million tons of fish from the world's oceans. It's such a normal part of life that most of us never stop to think about it. Fish sticks in the freezer, tuna in a can, salmon at a restaurant. For thousands of years, fish have been one of humanity's most important food sources. But have you ever wondered when that relationship actually began? At some point in the distant past, a human being looked into a river, saw a creature moving beneath the surface, and somehow figured out how to catch it. That sounds simple, but it shouldn't have been. Fish live in a completely different environment. They're faster than us, better adapted than us, and almost impossible to chase underwater. Yet ancient humans somehow turned them into one of the most reliable food sources on Earth. The question is how? Did prehistoric humans actually know how to fish? Or is fishing a much more recent invention than most people assume? The answer takes us tens of thousands of years into the past and reveals that our ancestors may have been far more intelligent than we give them credit for. When most people picture ancient humans, they imagine hunters chasing mammoths across frozen landscapes. It's one of the most common images associated with prehistory. But hunting large animals was dangerous, exhausting, and often unsuccessful. A wounded hunter could die from a broken bone or infection. A failed hunt could leave an entire group hungry for days. Ancient humans needed food sources they could depend on, and that's where water changed everything. Rivers, lakes, wetlands, and coastlines were filled with life. Unlike herds of animals that migrated across vast distances, fish often returned to the same locations year after year. They followed predictable patterns. They gathered during spawning seasons. They concentrated in shallow waters under certain conditions. Ancient humans may not have understood biology, but they understood observation. Generation after generation, they learned the rhythms of the natural world. At first, catching fish was probably much simpler than most people imagine. Researchers believe some of the earliest fishing techniques required almost no technology at all. During periods of drought or changing water levels, fish could become trapped in isolated pools. Ancient humans may have simply collected them by hand. Even today, similar methods are used by traditional communities in different parts of the world. It doesn't require sophisticated tools. It only requires patience and the ability to recognize an opportunity. But humans rarely stop at the simplest solution. Over time, people began developing ways to make fishing easier and more efficient. Instead of waiting for fish to become trapped naturally, they started creating their own traps. Archaeologists have discovered evidence of fish weirs, structures built from wood, branches, or stones that directed fish into confined spaces. Once inside, escape became difficult. These constructions might seem simple by modern standards, but they represented something important. Humans were beginning to shape their environment to increase their chances of survival. This was a major step forward. Rather than relying entirely on luck, ancient people were creating systems that produced results. They were thinking ahead. They were planning. In many ways, fishing may represent one of the earliest examples of humans engineering nature to work in their favor. Then came another breakthrough: spears. Long before metal tools existed, humans crafted wooden spears sharpened with stone blades, or hardened in fire. These weapons were primarily used for hunting animals, but they also proved useful in water. Spearfishing became an effective way to target individual fish in rivers and shallow lakes. However, spearfishing wasn't easy. Water bends light. A fish swimming beneath the surface isn't actually where it appears to be. Anyone who has tried to grab something underwater knows how deceptive this can be. Ancient humans had no scientific explanation for refraction, but they learned through experience. Miss enough fish, and eventually you figure out how to compensate. Successful spearfishermen developed remarkable coordination and precision. Evidence suggests that fishing became increasingly important as humans spread into new environments. Coastal regions were especially valuable. Along shorelines, food could often be found throughout the year. Shellfish, crabs, and fish provided dependable nutrition when other food sources became scarce. Then archaeologists made a discovery that changed everything. At a site in East Timor, researchers uncovered fish remains dating back roughly 42,000 years. The discovery alone was impressive, but what truly surprised scientists was the type of fish they found. Many belonged to species like tuna. This was unexpected because tuna are not easy fish to catch. They are fast, powerful, and typically found in open ocean environments. Catching them requires planning, knowledge, and specialized techniques. These weren't fish that accidentally ended up in a shallow pond. The discovery suggested something remarkable. Humans living more than 40,000 years ago already possessed sophisticated fishing knowledge. They understood marine environments far better than researchers once believed. They may have used boats, coordinated group fishing strategies, or techniques that have been lost to history. Suddenly, ancient humans looked a lot less primitive, and fishing technology continued to improve. One of the greatest innovations was the fish hook. Today, hooks are so common that we barely think about them. Yet, creating one requires an understanding of shape, strength, and animal behavior. A good hook must be sharp enough to penetrate, strong enough to hold, and designed to prevent escape. Long before metalworking, humans were making hooks from bone, shell, and animal horn. Some of the oldest known fish hooks are more than 20,000 years old. Think about that for a moment. While much of the world was still in the grip of the last ice age, humans were already designing specialized tools for catching fish. These weren't accidental discoveries. They were deliberate inventions passed down from one generation to the next. And then came nets. Although ancient nets rarely survive because they were made from plant fibers and other organic materials, archaeologists have found indirect evidence suggesting that humans were using them thousands of years ago. Nets transformed fishing completely. Instead of targeting one fish at a time, people could capture dozens or even hundreds in a single effort. For the first time, fishing could reliably feed entire communities. This changed the relationship between humans and water. Fishing wasn't just about survival anymore. It became a foundation for settlement. Communities began forming near rivers, lakes, and coastlines because these locations offered stable access to food. Reliable food supplies supported larger populations. Larger populations encouraged trade, specialization, and eventually the development of more complex societies. Some researchers even believe seafood may have played a role in human development itself. Fish contain nutrients that are important for brain growth and function. While scientists continue debating the extent of this influence, there is little disagreement that aquatic resources provided enormous benefits for ancient populations. What's often overlooked is how much knowledge fishing required. A successful fisherman needed to understand weather patterns, water currents, migration routes, seasonal changes, and animal behavior. None of this knowledge came from books. It was learned through observation and passed down through generations. A skilled fisherman carried centuries of accumulated experience. In many ways, fishing represents one of humanity's earliest sciences. Ancient people observed the world around them, identified patterns, tested solutions, and refined their techniques over time. They weren't conducting experiments in laboratories, but they were constantly learning, and that learning paid off. Long before farms appeared, long before cities rose from the ground, and long before written language recorded human achievements, people were already mastering rivers and coastlines. They were building traps, crafting hooks, weaving nets, and catching fish with remarkable efficiency. So, did ancient humans know how to fish? Absolutely. Not only did they know how to fish, but they may have depended on it far more than most people realize. Fishing helped feed families, support growing populations, and provide reliable nutrition in an unpredictable world. It wasn't a minor survival skill. It was one of the foundations upon which human success was built. The next time you see someone casting a line into a river or dropping a baited hook into the ocean, remember that they're participating in a tradition older than civilization itself. Tens of thousands of years ago, another human stood beside another body of water, searching for the same thing: food, survival, a chance to see another day. And in that moment, separated by thousands of generations, the two were not so different after all.